Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts, and in today's video we're going to be making this round topped gift box, or you could use it as a storage box. It's got a latch system on the front which works like so, and then it's got plenty of room on the inside. So let me show you how I put this box together. The box is very easy to resize, and I'm using a ratio of the width of the box being double the depth of the box, and that just gives a nice look and shape for this style of box. If you've watched the sewing box video, I'm making the base the same size as that one. I'm starting with two pieces of cardstock which are 9 inches by 4.5 inches. Along the 9-inch side I'm scoring at 1/2 inch and 8.5 inch, and along the 4.5 inch side I'm scoring at 1/2 inch. For the two side panels you'll need two pieces which are 4 inches by 4.5, and along the 4.5 inch side score at 1/2, and then you'll need one piece for the base which is 8 by 4. Take your 4 side panels, fold and burnish along the score lines, and we're now going to create our glue tabs. On the two long side panels, cut away the left and right hand bottom corners where the score lines intersect, and cut a wedge into the ends of the glue tabs. And then take the two shorter side panels and just cut a wedge from the glue tab. So we're now going to join our pieces together. Now you may decide to create one long strip using your side panels and then add them around the base. So you'd have a long piece, a short piece, a long piece, a short piece. Or you may decide to add each of the pieces individually to the base using the base glue tabs and then pulling up the sides to create the box. The construction method you use is entirely up to you. In this instance, I'm going to add glue to the base glue tabs of the side panels and add each of the pieces independently to the base. I'll just flip the piece over, line the base up, make sure my piece is sitting squarely, and then just burnish that down into place. I'm then going to repeat that with the remaining side panels. I think eventually, if you are someone who enjoys making boxes, as long as you have got the sizes that are dictated and you know what the box is going to look like, you will find your own preferred method of construction. So now the 4 panels are on, I'm going to fold in the tabs at the side on the long panels, add glue, and then pull up the sides and glue each corner. Once that's in line, I'm going to gently burnish down. That's given me a nice right angle. I'm going to do the same at the other end. I'm just going to flip that up and burnish that down, and then I'm going to add glue to the final 2 tabs, pull up the sides, and complete the construction of the box base. So that's effectively our base of our box. I'm now going to add the lip to the inside, which is just going to help the lid come down over and sit nicely on the base. For the lip, I've got one piece which is 9 inches by 1 inches, and I'm going to score at 1/2 and 8.5. And I've got two pieces which are 4 inches by 1 inch, and along the top and down the left hand side I'm making a notch at 1/2 inch. So you can see I've got 2 marks there. Fold and burnish the score lines on the long piece, and I'm just going to cut a wedge from the end of the glue tabs. I'm going to take the two smaller pieces and just cut the corner away, so I'm cutting between the two notch marks, and that just creates a nice shaped edge which just makes sure that the lid doesn't get caught on the lip as it comes down over the top of the box. Before I glue my pieces together, I'm just going to double check that they do actually fit into the front and the sides. And you can see I just need to trim a small amount off of the side pieces. So I'm going to do that now and just make any adjustments before I add the 3 strips of cardstock together. So now I know they fit, I'm going to make one long strip, and do make sure that your pieces sit squarely on top of each other, particularly along the edge that is going to protrude above the top edge of the box, because that's what you're going to see. I'm going to add construction glue to the bottom ½ inch of the strip. Just fold in towards the middle, the 2 side pieces, and then I'm going to start by sticking down the front lip. And once I'm happy with the alignment and position of that, I'm going to move round and just secure into place the side strips. And you do obviously want to make sure this is as level as possible. So that's the lip in place, and now I'm happy with the placement. I'm going to just go in with my score tool and just burnish that down. Whilst that's drying, I'm going to make my hinge, which is a piece which is 7 7/8 by 1 inch, and I'm going to score at ½ inch along the 1 inch side, fold and burnish, and you want to fold and burnish this in both directions. I'm then going to add my construction glue to one edge and sit this in the back of the box, and I'm sitting it so that my score line is just above the top edge of the base of the box, and I'm just flexing the hinge backwards just to make sure that it will move forwards and backwards and the score line is not impeded in any way. Once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to go in and burnish and just double check that that is in the right place. I'm going to put that aside to dry and complete the lid. For the sides of the lid, I've cut myself a circle which is 4 inches in diameter, which I've then cut in half. So that's going to be the 2 round top panels. And then for the central panel, my panel is 9 inches by 6 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to score at ½ and 8½ along the 9 inch side, fold and burnish the glue tabs, and then cut a series of teeth into the ½ inch glue tab. I'm now going to add my DSP onto this panel while it's flat, because I think it's going to be easier to make the holes for my handle whilst the piece is flat rather than when it's shaped. Before I go to the effort of sticking the DSP on, I'm just going to take one of my semicircles, and I'm just going to make sure that the centre panel is the right size. I want to make sure this is going to fit first, so that I get the holes for my handles in the right place, and I also cut the right size DSP to go on the top. I'm going to just use a paper clip to clip the semicircle into place, and then just manipulate that around just to make sure that it does all fit nicely, and that's the perfect size. So I'm going to add my DSP on using my construction glue. I'm going to measure across 3 inches and down from the top and bottom edge 2 inches, and use my screw punch to create the holes for the brads. I'm going to add a slight curve into the piece, and using my quick grab glue, I'm going to use my hand to just bend that into a rough shape and start to adhere the semicircle onto the outer edges of the central panel. Push that down with my right hand, and then as that gets started, I'm going to use my left hand to manipulate the teeth around the edge. Repeat on the other end. and that is my lid. We're now going to stick the lid onto the box base, and I've added my DSP into the inside and around the outside panels of the box base and the end panels and the inside panels of the lid. And the only reason I've done this now is because this black cardstock is a lighter weight than I would have liked, and I just think it's going to help me getting the lid into place if I've got some extra rigidity onto the base and the lid. I'm going to add construction glue to the top part of the hinge. Slide the edge of the lid up against the top edge of the base and making sure that the outside edges are lined up. And then once I'm happy with the position of that, I'm going to push the hinge over and gently push that into place. Close the lid and just check that the lid is sitting squarely on the back. Because I've used construction glue, I've still got some wiggle room to push that down at the side if it's not quite sitting to my liking. So I'm quite happy with that. I've cut my handle, which is 1.5 inches by 10 inches, and I've scored at 1 inch at either end, and that's going to sit on the top like so. And then we're going to make the latch system. I'm going to show you how to make this. One thing that I will say is now I've completed mine, with the benefit of hindsight, I would recommend that you make the slot section wider than I've made it. This will allow you to have a wider bar. My bar does work, and regardless of the size of bar you have, you will need to pull it forward slightly in order for it to then rotate. So you are going to have to bend up the ends. And you can see mine does rotate. But mine is only 3/8 of an inch wide, and to my mind, it does feel rather flimsy. So I would just say, if you're going to go with this method, follow my process of construction, but just maybe make the slot and the bar that needs to go in it bigger than I've done. And I think you will get a much more substantial result. That being said, it does serve its purpose, so let me show you how I put this one together. I've got a circle which is 4 inches and a smaller silver circle which is 1.5 inches in diameter. I've marked a line which is 1 inch long down the middle of the smaller circle, and I'm going to use my stationer's punch to just cut a hole at either end of the groove that I've marked in this metallic cardstock. I'm now going to use my ruler and my craft knife, and I'm going to effectively join up the holes. So that's given me this keyhole slot. I want to make sure that the smaller circle is at least 2 inches down from the top edge, and I've then just drawn around the inside of the slot with a pencil, and I'm going to cut the slot with my craft knife. I can make the slot on the black cardstock bigger. I don't need to worry about it being perfect because the silver card is going to sit over the top. So I have got some leeway to work with here. So that's going to sit on the top like so. I'm going to glue that down. So now we need to create the bar, and the bar is obviously going to need to fit through the slot. So I'm going to use the slot I've created, trace around the inside, and that's going to give me the size of bar that I need. And you want to make sure that the bar is going to come through the slot, which you can see that one does. I've added glue to the back, to the top portion of the black circle. I'm going to use my ruler on the base and line up the slot with the 4-inch mark on my ruler. So I'm happy with that. I'm just going to push that into place. I have added 2 extra pieces of black cardstock onto this metallic bar. I'm going to use the smallest hole in the screw punch and just make a hole in the centre big enough for my small brad to fit through. So you can see I've added the bar onto the box base. So the idea is the latch will come down. You will need to pull the bar forward like so. That will fit through the slot and then the bar will rotate. Now, as I said earlier, I would make the slot and the bar more substantial. Having said that, this is a gift box, so it's possibly only going to be turned a couple of times. But if I was going to use this box for storage, I would definitely want something more adequate. So you can see, in principle, the latch method does work. Just make sure, regardless of how you create your slot or your slot is wide enough to allow the bar to rotate. So you want to be able to turn the bar without it catching on the sides of the slot. So I'm just going to widen the slot slightly, and you can see now I've done that, it does actually turn a lot easier. So here's the final box, fully constructed, and overall, with the exception of the latch, which I would do the same process but just make it slightly larger, I'm actually happy with how this box has come out, and I really like the look of this with this spotted and the striped paper. As I said, the box is 8 inches by 4 inches, and with the lid in place, the box at its tallest point is 6 inches, so you can get some substantial gifts in here. I did add some additional circles just to cover the insides of the brad, but once this construction glue is completely dry, this box is going to be very solid. If you've watched any of the other boxes I've made with the tray mechanism, that would actually be quite effective in here, just adding some corner posts in and then making a tray to go in the box in the top. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.